Chris here with the Golf Aggressive Podcast, and I'm joined by our tamed golf pro, Richard Guzzo. And he has some interesting information for us about Top Golf. If you haven't heard about Top Golf, it is kind of a unique place. It's like a mixture of a driving range, a Hooters, and I don't know what else. Pretty wild.
You know, the funny thing about Top Golf is before it became popular, I think they only had like one or two setups. I think they were in Dallas area. And I went to a conference and people were talking about it. Non-golfers were talking about this Top Golf. And the way that they were explaining it, it sounded like it was a bar. And in the corner of the bar, they would have these simulators because they could drink beer, they could order food, and they could hit some golf balls. That's how I thought it was going to be like. And then to realize it's just a driving range, but it has great food and drinks. And then you got the chip inserted into the ball so it can show you where it goes on the driving range. It's a neat little experience.
So let me ask you, the last time we went, we discovered that the machine wasn't super accurate. So what we ended up doing was just hitting driver on every shot. Because that was the most points you could get.
Yeah, the targets were fairly accurate. It was actually when I hit driver, when it would hit the net out the back, it really wasn't picking that up as much. So, because it's only like, I want to say most of them are about the same setup. They're about 200 yards, if that. So it does help your ego because you can hit the back of the net. But I'm pretty sure, I think out of all the shots that I hit on the actual targets, because the targets have they're split into quadrants, and with the chip inserted into the golf ball, it can show you where it landed from the pin. And I think only once or twice it came up to where I was on the left side of the pin and it registered on the right side. So,
what'd be great is if we had everybody in our challenges and our membership had memberships to Top Golf, and they could go out and keep score. We could give them like a little game to play and then report back their score. Because then there would be no guesswork involved, and
just straight up
and things like that. We'd know exactly.
We just did the practice mode, but there are like half a dozen different modes that you can go. It's basically like a computer system, so it'll track everything. But we just did the practice mode, and it was fun. The kids loved it. They enjoyed it.
Children's birthday party?
No, that was that main event earlier in the day. This was just to get out with the day off. They were at home, so we took the kids to Top Golf. So it was good.
Awesome. So I know that you just released day one, the challenge results, and I've got my work cut out for me. I was just comparing myself to some of the other challengers, and I don't know how much more distance I can really add to what I've got up there.
Yeah, and that's pretty much
have a chance in this contest.
That seems to be the way when it comes to winning the challenges is, where are you starting from? Because I mean, if you look at my results in each of the challenges, I will start out, if we're looking at the top performer, usually at the top of the list on the first one, but then we're looking at gains. So
so I guess as time progresses, maybe on the score numbers, it's not going to be as dramatic. But what we're doing, we're using the Kaizen principle, and we're just getting better over time.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at golfers who are shooting in the 90s and 100s have a lot of ground to work out. So golfers who are in the 70s, it's little baby steps. So while we might not see too much of a difference in the 6 weeks of the Power and Distance Challenge, that's still progress. It just seems to get harder and harder as you progressively get better.
It's almost like losing weight. You get to these sticking points in your weight. And especially, if you've got 5 pounds to lose, it's going to take a monumental effort to lose that 5 pounds as opposed to somebody who's got 100 pounds to lose. They could lose 5 pounds in 3 days.
Yeah, it's like someone who drinks soda. I mean, they stop drinking soda, they lose 15 pounds. And then it's the next 15 that is going to be difficult. And so it's the same principle. So yeah, I see that the thing with the power and distance challenge, we've got 11 contestants. So I left myself off the list. So next week, whenever we get the second week report in, they'll have their results on the bottom line, and we'll be able to see how much gain there are. And then that 11th person is going to be left off the list.
You know what
So,
really annoys me about that? You know, we've got 11 people in there, but we have potentially hundreds of people that could take the challenge.
yeah,
And there's only 11 people have stepped up to actually put themselves out there on the line and compete.
well,
Now, I know people are going behind the scenes and they may not be reporting in, but I think you get better results when you actually participate in one of these challenges, and you can win stuff too.
Yeah, and I'm not too concerned about that because I mean I know we do have a lot of golfers in the program, but they're not in the actual challenge as a group. But they may also be in the membership with a need to focus on something else. So while this usually helps everyone,
Well, that's what we're going to solve today for them.
yeah. So and so yeah, so that this is the thing we're going to talk about today is how to set up a practice.
And this
routine.
really, you know, it was kind of an afterthought. It should have been a forethought when we were setting all this up, because what we've seen with the challenges, and we were so focused on the challenge, you and I, when we go and practice, we practice the full game. That's just how we do it. It's second nature to us. We don't really think about it. But people that are doing the challenges, we discovered, are 100% into the challenge. And what they've found is that other parts of their game start to sag and drop off. So the answer to that is to kind of create a format and that's based around the challenges, so you can move from one area to the next. So let's say we're focusing on red zone, which is approach shots. Well, it'd be pretty easy to add in the full swing as well to that practice routine using the same principles that we have. You know, a drill and then a pressure challenge. That's usually how we go with every challenge. When you're at the range, you'll get a drill to work on, and it's usually incremental. It'll start out at a little baby step, and it moves a little bit further and further and further until we're working on the full movement, which could be a pitch shot, it could be a putt, it could be a drive, whatever. So you get a drill, and then you also get a kind of what we call a pressure test, which we want you to do at the end of every section of your practice. So for example, you're hitting full shots. We want you to actually pretend like you're going to play 9 holes or 4 holes, however much time that you have. Because what that's going to do is that's going to give you a reenactment of what's going to happen on the golf course, because you're not going to stand on the golf course and just pound ball after ball after ball, you know, on the golf course. You can do that on the range, but you can't do that on the course itself. So you'll get a drill and then a pressure situation. And you can take this from the red zone to the chipping green, to the putting green, to your full shots. And that's what Rich has created, is like a little spreadsheet type of a thing that you can fill all these things in. Now, if you're in one of our challenges, it's going to be pretty easy. You'll just go into the challenge and you'll pick your weakest point of whatever section it is of your game, and then write in the information there, you know, the drill, and then the pressure test. But if you're at home and you're not a member of the Single Digit Blueprint, which you should be, so you should go to singledigitblueprint.com and sign up there. Then, I mean, you can go to YouTube, you can go through your golf magazines, things like that, and kind of fill this in. So Rich, why don't you cover what this worksheet is and just kind of how the whole process works?
Yeah, so what we found in the last challenge, quite a few golfers who were in the tap-in challenge were primarily just working on the challenge itself. So when they needed to do this particular range session, they would go to the range, and that was all they were doing. And what we found, and I mean, if you focused on one area of your game solely, what happened? Oh, I was waiting for that. it's not gonna it's not gonna throw me off today. But so what we found is excuse me, they were focusing on one part of their game and leaving the rest of it. And so what we've come up with is basically a foolproof system to fill in the blank on what you should be focusing on for this week. And it's not just going to include your challenge that you're in right now. So for those that are in power and distance challenge, you're going to fill in, okay, did you do your EMF this morning? What's your workout that you're going to do? You could also put times if you wanted to do that. And then when you go to the range, what are you going to be working on? What's the range drill? And you're going to split it into 5 different categories. You're going to have your full swing. You're going to have your red zone, your chipping around the green side. You're going to have putting, and then and I think we've got 5 to 10 minutes. Depends on whose schedule you look at when you got some sand action.
Yeah, and I also think we need to point out that it's a week. This is a schedule for a week, not a full month or 2 weeks. I mean, you could stretch it out to 2 weeks, but I think just mentally you're going to get bored.
Yeah, it's good just to look at it. Yeah, I mean, it's good just to reset it for the week and then go from there, because each week may change. So you could find that you might want to adjust the way we've got it worked out. So Chris's schedule, the way he would do it is you got 20 minutes on the full swing, 20 minutes on the red zone, 20 minutes on chipping, 20 minutes on putting, and then 10 minutes on sand. Mine's slightly different, but still an hour and a half. I've got 35 minutes on the full swing, 10 minutes on the red zone, and just don't pay any attention to him. Chipping it around the green side is 10 minutes. I like 30 minutes on putting, and then 5 minutes on the sand. So
well, I think if we were to evaluate your round, I think we would be able to tell that you're a better putter than anything else in your game. You're a very good wedge player. You're a great putter. And
the way it comes down to it,
driver.
Yeah, the way it comes down to it is that's the one area you cannot stop practicing. So even though it's 30 minutes for me, and I think we had 20, it's just an area for me that I feel like I need to continually put that effort in.
I think I think that's where you're seeing the biggest change in your game, and the results on the scorecard is in your putting game.
Well, I mean, obviously
you may enjoy it more than, sand play or things like that.
I look at it from a standpoint of what saves my scores. And so if I really look back at my rounds, I'm always going to have, you're always going to have when you look at your percentages of fairways hit, I mean, the guys on tour are like 60 to 70. I mean, they're not as what you would see, because on TV, they see the guys hit the fairway all the time. That's because they're showing the guys that are in the lead. So
it's interesting on that point, though. The President's Cup, if you watch that, those guys were all over the golf course.
Yeah.
And they were saving. It was the putting, it was the chipping that was saving the day for them.
Yeah, so that's primarily why I focus a little bit more on the putting, just because I know I can save shots and save my round. I'm gonna have a bad drive. I'm gonna miss greens, but if I can make a putt to save up for all that, it's a good feeling too. I mean, if you drain a long putt for par, that really kind of changes your mood for the next hole. So,
I agree with that to a point, but I also think that if you're struggling with a certain aspect of your game, maybe you should devote a little more time to that. For you, it's the driver.
Yeah, and that's
maybe you should spend, take your full game, and instead of like your red zone, maybe reduce the time on that and spend more time on the driver.
I was just going to go buy the M1. That'll fix it, won't it?
Yeah, you can just buy your drives. Okay, so let's talk about this M1 club for a little bit.
Hang on one sec. Let me just say, with this, because we're just keeping it as a weekly schedule, that allows you to change it. So you set your schedule for the week because you're basing it on what you found you may need to work on. So if you play Saturday and Sunday night, schedule the week out, and based on what you've identified as key areas. So this is a base, like an example, and I've put an example in the
so what you're saying is you get a problem of your game ironed out, in that week, then go ahead and change your times, your
Yeah.
practice times, because you don't need
Yeah.
to devote that much time anymore.
But the key focus is it's an hour and a half. So when you're in a challenge, our range sessions are 30 minutes. That's going to give you an hour to focus on the rest of your game.
Which is more than enough time.
Oh, it's plenty of time. Plenty of time. So this is where you're going to see the best results. If we look at where we came from before Golf Aggressive, when we had Get Golf Fit, we just did workouts. And we knew that golfers were going to get better if they would just work out. But we also knew that that wasn't everything. So if you just did workouts, that's not going to be a guarantee to lowering your scores. So that's why we formed Golf Aggressive.
In many cases, if you're not hitting your driver straight, but you're stronger, you're going to hit it deeper into the woods, cause more problems.
So we knew that there wasn't just one element. And this is where it gets to where with Golf Aggressive and the single digit blueprint, where it's everything together, so everything coming together so that you can see benefits on your score. And that's where this comes into. So
I think the thing that we've done really well is we know that golfers are busy. They're just busy people. There's a lot going on in their lives. It's not just golf unless they're retired, and then it's 100% golf, which is what we're aiming for. And, there's a lot. Most of the guys have kids or college kids. And even if they're in college, there's still a lot of maintenance that goes along with that, taking care of them there. So they're busy. They got busy jobs. A lot of them travel extensively. So what we've done is with the workouts, the challenges, our modules it's very time efficient. It's very compact. So you don't need a whole lot of time to get these things done. So yeah, I mean, that's why we kind of expanded the Get Golf Fit, which I thought was pretty good. But, there's a lot to golf besides just the fitness aspect. That's maybe like a 20% of the whole thing, because you need to be able to feel good to play golf. If your low back is sore, you're overweight, you're tired, you're not going to play well. So that's
the same can be said for the challenges. There's a lot to golf than just the challenge. And that's why we're putting together this little, I guess you call it a cheat sheet, but essentially it's a scheduling of giving you an additional blueprint to what you should be working on.
Well, one thing that we can't, I was thinking about this, I was looking at the sheet, it's like, how do we schedule the days? Because there are certain days that, let's just say you're really, really busy. You want to alternate your practice sessions and your workouts. That way you're hitting everything. You're getting the mind, body, and skill throughout the week. So I don't know how we could adapt that worksheet, which we'll make this available to everybody so you can build out your own plan and you can kind of see what we're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, you can, so if you know that, I mean, typically our workouts are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you find that, you're traveling on Monday and Tuesday, just modify it. It's just having a plan. You could just modify it to where Wednesday is going to be your Monday, and then the Friday is going to be your Wednesday, and then Sunday is going to be your Friday, and just do it that way. So,
well, yeah, but my point was, if you only have an hour a day, let's just say you're super busy. There's 1 hour that nobody's bugging you. So you can get away for 1 hour. You could either, split your workout to 30 minutes and your practice to 30 minutes, but we both know that that's not going to work out in 1 hour, because you're going to have to drive to the golf course after you work out, or vice versa, unless the golf course has a gym right there, which is not usually the case. So what I would suggest is that you alternate. So Monday, you work out. Tuesday, you go to the golf course for an hour. Wednesday, you work out for an hour. Thursday, you go to the golf course. Friday, you work out. Saturday, golf course. Sunday, golf course.
Most of our challengers are set up that way. I think the range sessions are Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So workouts are on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So with Grease in the Groove, it's every day. So Yeah, so I mean, really, it's giving them an additional aid to schedule, because that's what it comes down to. I mean, that's why our challengers do so well, is because they feel like they're just fed information of what to do, and they just go do it, versus being on their own.
Well,
And
one of the things that brought this up was you and I were watching a video. I think it was of Jordan Spieth, or maybe it was Rory. What happens when he gets out of the car? And I think it was Golf Digest that maybe filmed this. It was really
yeah, there's
cool.
quite a few of them now. There's Jason Day, I think there's Rory, there's Jordan Spieth,
And they're
the
all a
whole
little
lead up.
different, but they're all the same.
Yeah,
It's they have their own little. They've designed it to their own specifications, but it's all pretty damn similar.
yeah,
And it's really cool because you see what happens when they get out of the car and get in. It's usually it's probably an hour and a half routine before they tee off. Some are a little longer, some are a little less. I know Tiger Woods likes to practice before he plays pretty much. And a lot of these guys, they don't like to do that. They just like to see where it's at and get out there and go. So, I mean, you can design your own program. We'll try to find some of those videos and get them up so you can see them. I think they're really cool. They're really beneficial to kind of put this into perspective of what we're talking about here. So that's kind of a pre-round what they do, but this is an ongoing practice regimen that we're talking about today. So, Rich, why don't you break down your round or your routine?
I mean, for the most part, 35 minutes on full swing. We've got 10 minutes on the red zone, and I usually do that. I'll warm up with it, and then I'll do a couple of pressure tests with that. And the pressure test is usually I'll warm up to get loose, and then I'm going to start picking targets left and right and just try and dial it in. The chipping and green side is 10 minutes. Putting's 30 minutes, and sand is about 5. And what I like to do is to pick a range drill for each one, or a pressure test for each one, and just focus on that. So it could be for full swing. I could be, okay, today I'm going to be working on my takeaway, or it could be my swing plane. And then for the red zone, I could be focusing on a 10 to 10 swing at a 75-yard target. And I'm going to be going through, this is going to be changing up based on my previous rounds. If I've identified a particular issue with my round, I can factor that in. The chipping, I really like. You have problems. You had Starbucks this morning, didn't you? So with the chipping one, my favorite is just doing the assessments, the 3 assessments that we have for the tap-in challenge. If it's a no-brainer, I can just do those 3, and I know I can have fun doing it. And even if I don't hole out any, or if I don't get up and down in the consistency challenge, I know it benefits my game when I get to the golf course. Even if I was to just drop a shag bag down and hit from one 20, 30 yard spot to one pin and just hit 50 balls, I know just by doing that, it's going to help when I get onto the golf course.
Right. But here's the thing that we need to point out. Whenever we say there's 5 aspects that you need to practice, we're not talking about just showing up and spending 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. There is a specific focus that we want to achieve out of that 20 minutes. A drill and a pressure test.
Yeah, you're going to have...
we want to know exactly what we're doing when we show up, because that's how we're going to get the most efficient use of our time. If we just show up and we just say, I'm going to practice putting, I mean, what are you going to practice? Usually you're going to get 3 balls, and you're going to hit 3 balls to hole number 1, and then you're going to get better by the 3rd stroke, and then you're going to hit to the next hole. That's not practicing.
Yeah, the way I put my example in the bottom of this spreadsheet that we'll have available for download. But so you've got your EMF column. If you've done it, what time? Yes or no? Which workout? So I'm doing power and distance workout A. What grease in the groove am I doing today? So I'm doing the power and distance takeaway. And then I've got 4 different range sessions that I've picked out of each of the challenges. So for the full swing, I've got the power and distance. I got the whip drill. The red zone, I've got quit the flip. I got the tap in. I've got the all arm swing. And then for the no more 3 putts challenge, I'm taking away the right hand only drill. So I'm actually using those drills. I'll write those down, and that's what I'm going to focus on in that range session when I do the actual allotted times.
Yeah, so he knows exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And then we have pressure tests, and usually a pressure test is just a game. It's a competition where you keep score.
Yeah.
There's no do-overs. There's no gimmies. It's you either do it or you don't do it, and that's your score. And I think the best one for putting is the drawback game. But let's talk about greasing the groove just a little bit for people that don't know what that is. So greasing the groove would be something that you do at home. And it could be counted in this practice time, but generally, I mean, when you get to your house, how much time do you spend watching TV or just dicking around? There's a lot of time after you get off work that you're doing nothing. And this is built to take advantage of that downtime. And it's basically programming your brain. For me, I have a putting green in my living room, which doesn't go over so hot because it's always in there.
I did think about bringing mine inside.
And then, well, your wife is gone.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know why it's not in. There's no reason that it's not in, except that Champ might mistake it for grass.
True.
So in my office here, I've got tape on the floor for my driver. I've been working on my driver lately. So I've got the exact setup. And I tell you, it's been working like a champ. And I've changed nothing except my setup, which is pretty amazing. So the greasing the groove, you can go to your practice screen in your living room. If you're a real man and you lay down the law, you will have a practice screen in your living room, and you will not care what anybody says to you. That's how I roll here. And I suggest that for everybody else if they want trouble. So I'll go in there and I'll just practice.
Chris said to do this.
Well, I'll go in there and I'll, whatever I'm working on. Right now, my greasing the groove is kind of a homebrew one. And that is, I want to feel like my left hand is flat and tracking towards the target or on the target line. So I'll get up there, I'll do my setup, my alignment, I take the club back, and then I really focus on that one movement. And I do this without even striking a ball. I'm just going for the feel of it. And I'll do that a couple of times, and then I'll stroke a ball. And then that's it. I move on. I go and watch professional wrestling. Seth Rollins is I think probably my favorite wrestler right now. They call him the architect because he should not be the heavyweight champion, but somehow he is.
Because it's all fake.
Rich. No, it's real, Rich. Wrestling is real. Maybe the outcomes are staged, but those guys are pretty athletic. I mean, they're not the old school wrestlers that were just huge guys that weren't athletic. These guys are pretty amazing today. So, I mean, that's my setup. I have one in my living room, and I have here in my office. I've got an old driver that I use, and I set up to that. And what you're doing is programming your mind away from the golf course. So when you're doing a GTG in your planning, I would suggest just do one. You don't need 5. Just do one for the week and then change it up next week. Just little nuances here or there. I've got 2 this week, but I really don't stress about it if I miss one because over the week period, it really pays dividends and it really pays off for me. So, Rich, what's your GTG schedule? What's your layout in the house there for GTGs? And what GTGs do you do?
I usually do it in the garage when I do my workout. I mean, it's just the perfect space for me. So I'll either use the bands or I've got clubs just lying around. That's one part of it. And then the patio out the back, I got the driving range. So, but that's really I don't use that for the GTG.
I'm really jealous of Rich's driving range because here's the thing. I'm a range zombie sometimes. I like to hit a lot of balls. It's just relaxing to me. I like to listen to Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Tupac, and just hit balls, kind of zone out. Rich is in his backyard has a full driving range now because there are no houses behind his house. There's nothing back there. And he bought one of those mats. What are those people with the terrible commercials
I don't even
on that
remember what it's
show?
from. Something. I honestly don't remember where it
Horrible, horrible website, horrible
Yeah.
commercials, but they sell good
I
shit.
just know the guy that's on the commercial basically skies it because
He's got the worst swing ever, doesn't he?
yeah, but you can put the tee into this mat, and so he puts the tee in, but it puts it way too high. So if you slow the video down, he goes straight under it, and so and the website's horrible, but the
Well, they're
mats are
not
great.
selling results; they're selling product.
Yeah, and the mats are great. So I have that out the
I
back.
love the smile he has after he skies it.
So I have the net as well because I had it set up in the garage. Um, but for me, with the net
I don't like
and
net.
unless I will have a launch monitor that actually shows a visual flight of the ball, to me it just I just didn't like it.
You
So
know what I do like are the video game ones because those are fun and they may not be 100% accurate, but they're fairly accurate. They're accurate enough.
yeah, like the OptiShot ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
um, so I'll eventually get a launch monitor that has the screen that shows the ball flight, but
I
uh,
don't know that you need like a $20,000 or even a $2,000 machine. It could be as simple as, that OptiShot game. I mean, it's going to give you a pretty good idea of where it's going. And that's a lot more fun than just hitting into a net.
yeah, it's to me hitting to a net is just boring. It
You
just
don't know what happened.
no,
You
I
might
mean,
have an idea, but
yeah, I mean, I had a target and I smashed the target down, but after a few hits, but it just didn't seem, yeah, I just didn't really get anything out of it. So I took the net down, but put the mat out the back. So for greasing the groove, I'll just do anything most of the time, usually in the garage area. I've got space there, but that's
back
pretty
to
much
this
my
net.
setup.
I think they are useful if you're just working on tempo
I think
because
if you
you're not really caring about where it goes.
No, I think it can help with a lot of things. It could help with a lot of swing changes, just because you're getting to get the repetitions up. But for me, I like to see the ball fly, and so I just and I don't typically work on too much of a swing change. So to me, I didn't really get any benefits out of it. But if you're having to do some changes, and then say if you're doing a swing plane change, you could do a couple of trills and then hit a ball to kind of see how it reacts to that change. I could see some benefit to it, but
If you're stuck up north, I would recommend just getting that Opti shot because it'd be fun. I mean, you can play golf.
anything that will tie into uh, an app that can show you the flight of your ball. I looked at Owner Sports had one, and they give you the app, but it's just giving you straight data. It doesn't show you ball flights. The one I've got my eye on is the SkyTrack. It's by SkyCaddy, the GPS units, and they've got a fairly good one. It's using the same technology as TrackMan, that Doppler radar, but just dumbed down basically. So it's not, you're not paying 20,000, you're paying like 2,000.
I have the
And
ultimate setup for you. I just thought of it. So you get a computer, you get a little cart. You don't even need a cart. You just need a table and a laptop. You get the Opti shot. You go to your back porch. You hit real balls out the back of your driving range there, and then you watch it on the computer.
yeah, I can put a TV out the back too and just hook it up to that.
Yeah, and you just go play golf at night. Think about it.
Yeah, we'll go get the glow balls from the Hyatt.
You don't need, because here's the thing. Now you can test the accuracy of the Opti shot. Because if you hit that driver and it's a little baby fade and it shows a baby fade on the Opti shot, you know you're good.
I teed it down too low the other day and wiped off a part of my fence.
Oh wow.
It just went straight through. Thankfully, it didn't hit the pylons, or the cross beams. It just went straight through the fence.
What kind of ball was that did that damage?
Usually I tell you, my 3 or 4 that I will pick out, because what I do is when we go play the Hyatt, we go look for a bowl. We'll find. I mean, I think the other day I bought 85 bowls back from the Hyatt just from playing.
And this is all your buds helping you out to build Olin's driving range collection?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So I like to hit. These are the 3 bowls that typically go out into the field. Callaways, which I hate. Noodle, Mojo.
You know what I've noticed about the Callaway? Like the quality of the ball doesn't seem as high as the others. There's like little imperfections to the paint job.
I've never noticed that, but to me, it's always based on feel, and I've never been able to. It just doesn't feel right for me around the greens.
That's what she said.
Yeah, and we have that. Me and my buddy of mine, AJ, we always talk about a book of sayings that you really only hear on the golf course, and so usually inappropriate sayings, but appropriate for the golf course. So
Caddyshack.
Yeah.
Which we haven't heard the horn today. I'm a little sad that we haven't heard the horn.
Yeah, I disabled it.
Nice. So have you rolled down the street with the horn?
I haven't installed it into the car yet. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to find someone to do it for me. And so, but I have tested it.
You just hooked it into the battery and
yeah, I tested it. I tested it on the car, and then I went to the golf course and hooked it up to the golf cart battery, and went to the starter and cranked it right there.
What did he say?
He loved it. It's really loud. So,
well, I mean, they play loud music right there too at the Hyatt.
It was louder than the music. It was definitely heard within 200 or 300 yard radius.
Well, I bet it was heard course wide.
It wasn't that loud.
Those valleys probably echoing around in there.
Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome. You're gonna have to take that to the bag drop and blow that thing out.
Yeah, once I get it installed in the car, I'll do that.
Nice. So, that's just kind of our thoughts on building a practice routine. It's all about focus. It's all about devoting a set amount of time and just taking this seriously enough to spend, how long did it take you to build out your practice routine? 5 minutes? Because you have the single digit access.
Yeah, it's not long. So, if you're in one of the challenges, it'll take you 2 minutes if you're in one of the challenges. Or if you've done all the challenges, it still won't take very long because your
memory then. But even if
your EMF is the same across the board. Your workout, if you're in the challenge, you're going to do the workout that's on the schedule for that week. Your greasing the groove. If you're in the challenge, you're just going to do one or two of those greasing the grooves that we have scheduled for you. And then really the time that's going to be taken is looking at which range sessions you want to do and the time allotments with when you actually go to the course.
Yeah,
those are really the two things.
Even if you have 20 minutes, you can get a good session in and get some focus in. And that's really, if I'm going to give away the company secret here, it's focus on minute details over a period of time. We're not going to do the Michael Breed bullshit where you go out and it's one deal. It's this random drill for one day. And then tomorrow I watch this show and I've got 3 drills that I do. And the next day I come back with 3 other drills. And then I will kick your ass on the golf course if you're the tip of the day golfer. It's just the way it is. Anybody who stays focused and has a plan is going to drill you if you're the tip of the day guy because you're confused. You don't know what you're doing. If you knew what you were doing, you would be focused, you would have a plan, and you would have a clear goal in mind. And I think that's the beauty of this practice routine because that's what it's going to give you. So I haven't said his name today. Butch Harmon agrees with me 100% on what I just said.
So close.
That knowledge comes from his father. He said he would take any tip of the day golfer and just beat him into the ground with somebody that had a plan and a clear focus, and it was working from one section to the other. Now, I have a bone to pick with this Golf Digest top 100 golf instructors. How do they know? Butch Harmon obviously is number one. He will always be number one, even after he's dead. Even though he can't give a lesson, he will still be number one.
Isn't it selected by their peers? I'm not sure what the criteria is.
Why don't we base it on results? Let's
Yeah,
take 10 guys that shoot 100, and in 1 year, let's see where they're at.
Right. Yeah, I mean, but you're looking at guys who have, like, Butch Harmon's got your tour caliber guys, and then
he doesn't even teach the average golfer.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Really? What, through DVDs?
No, you can go get a lesson from Butch.
How much money does that take?
It doesn't matter.
If you're the average golfer making $60,000 a year, can you get a lesson from Butch without starving for a month?
We didn't talk about how much it's going to cost. You just said, does he give lessons to the average golfer? And that is yes. That doesn't mean and it really isn't that expensive. You can get those academies that he's at Rio Seco that have him in the academy for like $5,000 for like a 3, 4, maybe even 5-day session. Right. So,
okay, but how realistic is that?
That's not that bad.
To do that every week.
I'm not saying every week, but I mean, if you look at the
so here's my point, Rich, and the beef I have with this stupid list.
What's the criteria? Is Mom saying
you can't go hire Butch Harmon to come into your house every day and teach you.
All right.
There's no way. He wouldn't do it for Tiger Woods. He'd tell him to go screw himself, which he already has. So the thing is, on this list, I think they're taking into account video production. Oh, this is so great. Or he's on the Golf Channel, which I think Michael Breed was number 6. What makes him so good? I think if you have somebody of talent and you make them a little bit better, does that really make you the world's number one golf coach? I don't know. Yeah, I think that real talent is taking a hacker and teaching them the game and then them breaking 80 eventually.
Yeah, but I've also seen over a couple of decades now where I've seen instructors who are fantastic with beginner golfers and maybe not as good with elite golfers, and then vice versa. So how do you justify those two? So I don't know how.
I think it all comes down to results, not just the eye test. It's like this college football rankings that drives me crazy. So Alabama gets beat at home by Ole Miss, who we find out is not that good. Alabama goes to Georgia and beats Georgia, and Georgia was supposed to be awesome, and they've lost 2 games. It's just like, how do we know until they play the game? And that's what I'm saying about these instructors. I think it should be based on results. Obviously for the tour pros, Butch Harmon's the number one guy. He's getting the best results out of the guys that use him, right? I mean, he took Ricky Fowler from pretty good to awesome in not that long a time. So that's my beef with it is let's put it into results.
I would split it into categories. You got your tour instructors, you got your elite golfers instructors, and you got your beginner instructors. That would be a fair,
Right, but I think if Butch Harmon, he doesn't charge the tour guys. Did you know that? In his book, he says he doesn't charge them a dime. At the end of the year, they can give him whatever they think it was worth. But he's there every single week on the tour at their disposal. However, if Adam Scott's using him for an hour, you can't go up and just say, hey, I need to see you right now. You have to wait until Adam's done and then ask him. Or, it's not like he's your bitch, so to speak. He's that good. He's like, well, you can just wait. I'll get to you. Which I like that attitude. That's a pretty neat attitude. But I just think it should be based on results. So if you're looking for a professional to help you, look at the people that he's teaching. Are they better than they were a month ago, 2 months ago, a year ago? Talk to the people that they teach. Anyway, that's my beef with the all these stupid lists. Let's talk about the M1 driver and how it's going to help you beat me.
I don't have the M1.
You ordered it though, right?
No, I got the R15.
Oh, you went to last year's model because it went on sale.
Yep.
Okay, so that driver that I sent you the other day that you said I sent you one for $200, and you go, no, that's too much. So I did a search. I found it for $80.
It's still too much.
I don't even know what it's called.
The speed line or the jet speed.
Okay, so that's coming. That should be here today or tomorrow.
That's what you ordered, really?
Yeah, the strong 3-wood, 12-degree 3-wood with extra stiff shaft for $80.
Yeah.
So we'll see, because I think that 3-wood that you gave me is about the face is about to cave in. I'm not kidding.
You've had that nearly 6 years now, maybe longer.
And you had it two
I had it
years
for a while
before
too.
that.
Yeah. I was trying to look. We're talking about instructors. Have we done a podcast on how to find an instructor? Yeah, we've done one.
I think we've talked about it.
No, we did a whole segment on it. How to find the right instructor. So,
Yeah, I mean, we should probably talk about that a little bit. Is
we already covered it.
Yeah, you can hear people say, "Oh, he's the best. He's the best. He's the best." I think that comes down to the proof is in the pudding.
I think a lot of it comes down to how you can relate to the instructor, because one of the big things you find when you go get a lesson is if you need to do a particular move or a swing change or trying to get it in a different spot, if you don't feel it in that spot, how are you going to practice it once the instructor walks away?
Yeah, so you got to get that feel down. A lot of them don't tell you that.
So my main advice when it comes to when you do get a lesson is that if he's trying to make you do a certain move or a certain position, but you don't feel it and you can't feel it, don't leave until you finally go, oh, I feel where it needs to be, or I know, okay, it needs to be there, it needs to be here. Because if you don't get that feeling and you don't get that confirmation of this is the way it's supposed to be, once you walk away from that lesson, it's done. And that's why instructors will often see their students who they've given a lesson to, and then the next day or the next week, you look at them and they're doing something completely different. It's because they didn't get what you were telling them in the actual time period. So,
I think that this makes me think of does your golf pro have a philosophy on how he teaches? Does he have a method?
Yeah,
a method to the madness.
Yeah, I don't like.
I'm not talking about a method like, as in it's got to be this way or the highway. I'm talking about a method like we have created with the greasing the grooves, the drills, the pressure testing, the think your way around a course. Because a lot of these guys are they do whatever. They don't have a plan.
Yeah, I would rather call it a plan or a blueprint versus a method. When you say method to me, it's
you're thinking of like
Mo Norman.
Yeah.
Mo Norman, or Jim Furyk. In a couple of decades away, there's going to be the Jim Furyk swing, and that's the way everyone's going to be swinging. Well, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing with this Mo Norman. It's just taking someone with a unique swing and saying that's the way we're supposed to swing it. No, it's not. So if you have or go
Wait a second, you're saying that way sucks?
I'm not saying that's the way it sucks. What their teaching is that the Mo Norman, or if we launch the Jim Furyk swing, this is the way everyone should be doing it.
I don't have a problem with them teaching that swing. I have a problem with. I think you should come to your own decision that that's the swing that you want, and when you want to do that swing, go for it.
Right.
Tiger Woods has done this 3 or 4 or 5 times. He's changed his swing entirely. It may not look like it, but it's quite a bit different each variation that he does. So once you decide you want to do that, that's cool. Go with it. But what I'm meaning is, you don't want to go to a pro and you've done it a certain way, and then he's just going to force that method on you. That's what you're talking about.
Right.
Somebody who cannot teach different ways of doing the same thing. Because we all know there's a bazillion, every golfer's swing. You could have, I don't know how many golfers are in the world, but every swing's different. There's no two that are identical. But a pro that can take you from point A to point B, and maybe the journey is different for you than it is for Rich. We're built differently. And I think that's what you're trying to say, right?
That's it.
Yeah. So I agree with that completely. But the guy that doesn't have a plan, he doesn't have a philosophy, his way is the only way, is what you and I are both against.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. Those are our rants. Rich hates Mo Norman. Apparently, I don't.
It's actually got nothing to do with him. Back in the day, I got a lesson from an instructor who taught a method that I wasn't aware of, and it was a particular frame to where you were very upright. And
So it
I've always
confused you. It
no.
hurt your game. It hurt your game more than it helped.
Well, he wanted me to make certain changes that I thought were for bettering my game, but it was to align my game with his method.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
so once I found that out, I couldn't trust him.
So let's put this into perspective. If you've watched Jordan Spieth's golf swing, he has a chicken wing
yeah, but
on
he
his follow
repeats it.
through. That's the thing. But if you go to Mr. Perfect golf swing, what's he going to do to Jordan Spieth? If he's not Jordan Spieth, he doesn't know he's Jordan Spieth. He looks just like some average guy. What's he going to do? He's going to try to fix the chicken wing, right?
I guess it just depends on if he's hitting a particular shot to where if he's leaking out to the right with the chicken wing and that's causing it, I think yes, he would change it.
Okay, so let's take another guy, Bubba Watson.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That's
Bubba, your foot's coming off the ground.
Yeah.
What's going on there? What's with this high finish? What would they do to him if they didn't know he was Bubba Watson?
Oh my goodness.
They'd get that video camera out and ruin him. He'd never play golf again.
Yeah, that would be a difficult one.
See, that's my point with all of this is it's not about the perfect golf swing. It's about making you better. It's about refining your rough edges, and that's what this practice routine is going to give you. So get out there, create your own practice routine. If you hate putting, don't putt. If you love putting, add more time to it. Make it your own. We're going to give you the framework to do that, to kind of create your own, and we'll give you some examples on that. And Rich, are you going to have that done fairly soon? I've seen the rough draft. Is that
it's done?
Final? Okay,
it's done. Yeah, I've got the post for the members. I just have to add the file to the blog post, but yeah, the actual document's done.
Okay, so it's live and inside the single-digit blueprint, or will be, right?
Will be. It's not linked. It's live. I just haven't linked it.
Okay.
We'll have that done. It'll be all done today.
And then this podcast that you're listening to will include a link to where you can just download it if you're not a member of the members area. So with that said, I would like to thank you for listening today. Rich, do you have anything to say?
I'm not saying it. You're gonna.
I wish you would stop that. It's like getting really just disgusting.
I'm glad I've banned Starbucks. So
is that what happens with the little Starbucks? Again, it's the Duffy Martin fart machine. I don't even know where you can get it. I got it at Cimarron National in Guthrie. Yeah. I just remembered that he would walk around the clubhouse. He'd drop his keys and he'd been over to pick him up. Oh, sorry. Funniest thing ever, especially when people that didn't know him were in there. So anyway, I'm Chris, and I'm joined by Rich, our Tame Golf Pro. Thanks for listening, and happy golfing.